Sara Kavanaugh is the sommelier, if I'm saying it right?
Sommelier.
Sommelier.
SOMMELIER is how you spell it.
Yes.
Do you want me to write that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it is. I can't spell very well. Wine stuff I can't spell. Sommelier.
At the Windsor Court Hotel. Windsor Court's the #6 hotel in all of the nation. And she's the assistant food and beverage director of the hotel as well. So welcome, Sara.
Which hotel?
Windsor Court Hotel. #1 hotel in Louisiana, #6 in the U.S. City hotel in the U.S.
So
Is it in New Orleans?
Yeah.
it's in New Orleans. Yep, 300 Gravier Street, right by Harris Casino.
It's usually the best.
I am. So, all right. So I don't have a bio here, but if you want to run us through just kind of where you're from, why you get into wine, what college and your education at.
Yeah, like the main stuff.
Main stuff.
Hey everybody. So I was born in Ruston, Louisiana. I grew up in Shreveport. Went to LSU for a little bit. Did not do so well at LSU my first semester. Came back, started getting into food and beverage, just working at a barbecue joint actually. And a week before I was supposed to go back to LSU, I had a roommate, I had a place, I had everything. I kind of decided I don't really want to do that. I want to do food and beverage. My mom's a great cook. She cooks at home, but she's got no skills, like fancy skills. So that whole fall semester, I kind of went to school in Shreveport, but also looked for culinary schools to go to. And the one I ended up going to was Johnson & Wales in Charleston, South Carolina. So I started off cooking, actually, my first couple years. I cooked about 4 years in Charleston, worked at some really, really, really great restaurants there, and went to school, kind of did doubles and just had fun. And then I had an opportunity through school to go to Europe for about a month and a half to go to a wine school. I knew nothing about wine. I was mispronouncing everything. Like, I look back on it, I'm like, oh God, that was terrible. But I knew I needed to get some sort of experience in wine before I went, because I really wanted to get the most out of it. So the restaurant that I was working at was pretty high end in the city, and I'd done everything in the restaurant, or in the back of the house, in the kitchen part of it. I'd worked from the raw bar all the way up to saute and was doing specials and all sorts of stuff. So I kind of was at a point where I was done with the back of the house part of it. And I asked the general manager of the restaurant at the time, can I switch to the front of the house, waiting tables? And she kind of looked at me funny and was like, yeah, okay, we can do that. And so we switched to the front of the house and went to Europe for a month and a half and fell in love with wine. The rest kind of is history. I left that job after almost a year in the front of the house to a cellar in Charleston still, a very large cellar, about $800,000 worth of wine, stuff everywhere, kind of a wreck, and worked really hard every day, like 10 a.m. Until 3:30 when I'd have to be on the floor as a server from 3:30 to midnight. And did that for 6 days a week, 7 days a week, for like 2 years. Became the assistant to the wine program there. Traveled, been to Australia, been to Europe a bunch of times, tasting wine, California, obviously, Oregon, all that stuff. And then came here about 3 years ago to the job I am in now at the Windsor Court. I guess, see, I told you I was long-winded.
No, it's okay. So, wine. Does everybody know about wine? I mean, wine is one of those things. It's just kind of okay. It's nice, supposed to be elite, but to understand the taste with the ingredients of wine, why is that important to even understand that?
What I try to tell everybody, and what I try to, because we do, like I said, we do wine classes all the time, and the way that I was brought up, wine is this tendency, and my mom doesn't drink wine, she drinks vodka, she didn't have a clue she's like, what do you do for a living? Like, she gets so confused. So, the biggest thing that I try to kind of convey in that sense is that wine should not be scary. It really shouldn't. Don't be afraid to ask people questions. It's a very difficult, it's a $1 billion industry. Wine can be very expensive, it can also be very cheap. It is one of those things that, in order for you to get, how I got where I was studying a lot, reading a lot of very large books, a lot of textbooks and things like that. And then there's also the Court of Master Sommeliers, which is a program that service industry goes through. That's 4 different levels, and you take tests at each level. First level is just your basic level, you just do a written test. Second level is you blind taste 2 wines. You're not blind, you just don't know what the wines are. And you have to say what it is, and then you have a test. The third level, you actually do a service exam where you're opening champagne, it's really weird, it's like a game show, it should be. You're opening champagne, opening wine, talking to tables, like fake tables, but they're your teachers, realistically. Then you blind taste 6 wines in 25 minutes, and you have to tell exactly what the wine is, and then you do a written test. The master's is the exact same, and to be a master, there's only 117 masters in the United States. Master sommelier, sorry, and 17 are women.
This program is called Summit.
Court of Master Sommelier is what the court is. And the end goal is to become a master. It takes years. I've been in the business I've been doing this for over 10. I've taken the advanced level. I took advanced level 2 years ago. Passed 2 out of 3, passed the service and the tasting, did not pass the written test. So I'll go back again and take it. But it takes a lot of dedication and a lot of studying. But sometimes people can carry that on to pretension, and that's the one thing that I don't like to do, because it's just booze at the end of the day. It should be fun, but there's a lot of intricacies to it.
So the color of wine.
The color of wine. What gets the color of wine?
Yeah.
The grape skin. So when we're talking about wine all day today, think about just a household grape, because it's the same concept. The grape it's just a plant. So red wine comes from red grapes. White wine comes from white grapes or green. The way that you get color from wine, red wine, is from the skin contact. So when you pick all your grapes, right? Then typically only with red, you get your grapes, you press your juice, and you usually stir it with a massive baton kind of thing, and it sits on the grape skins. And the grape skins, it bleeds onto them, right? So if you got a regular household grape, and smushed it in water or whatever, it would come out. It would end up being red at the end of the day. There is red grapes that can make white wine, but that's just because they don't allow it to sit on the skins. Does that make sense? So there's some
peel it?
Huh?
Do they peel?
No, they macerate it. It's just maceration. So they'll throw it into a massive tank, right? And they'll literally just punch down, is what it's called. And they'll just punch down, and then it'll just kind of it's a reaction. And it sits for a long time.
How do they keep the skin out of it?
They strain it.
Yeah, so I was thinking, if it's pressed through a strainer, then the skin stays up and the juice comes out.
Yeah, and there's also fining and filtering. A lot of people don't like when you get sediment in wine, a lot of times, that's because they probably didn't fine or filter their wine. So there's a lot of that too. A lot of winemakers have their own philosophy on stuff too, about how the wine should be made. And sometimes you got to be careful when it's fine and filtered too much, because you don't really want the impurity. You want some impurities gone, but you really don't want all of them. So.
Yeah.
Next question.
Yeah.
So sometimes certain red wines will give me a headache and others won't. Why is that happening?
There's a lot of conversation about that with sulfur. People say that sulfur causes headaches. That's not true. You just don't drink too much, is what I would guess.
Okay.
Or it could be a tannin thing. So there's 2 different things. And just follow me through this. Sulfur has to go in every single wine in order for it to be stabilized.